They dictated that battle.
Get fucking secure down!
The terrain surprised us. The enemy surprised us. Even though we had all the information intelligence in the world,
Hey, we're taking accurate fire.
we were able to be enveloped by an enemy force. We made a decision that we're going out there. There's multiple machine guns. Probably not going to be pretty. Most of us are probably going to die. It's just what it is. But we got to at least drag this dude around the corner and not let the Taliban get him.
Right now, Zulu is down. He is urgent.
There's a difference between failure and defeat. You can fail all day long as you don't keep repeating it. Just don't be defeated and you come back even stronger. Life is designed to do that. Afghanistan 2008, we were working in Helmand province. Our team got just annihilated. We took a lot of casualties that trip. I was in a vehicle, new RG-33s. They're mine-resistant vehicles that we just came into country. It's the first time we'd used them. The Taliban were like, cool. Let's see how much explosive it takes to blow this thing up. The vehicle I was in, we hit a 500-pound explosive device under a culvert. It blew the vehicle about 50 meters down the road facing the wrong way. Killed the driver and the Air Force JTAC sitting next to me immediately. The captain's chair was broken, his back was broken, he was stuck in that. I was pretty jacked up, and there was a guy in the very back, and I was also pretty injured. That one took me 4 years to recover from. It was like 17 surgeries to rebuild my face, and then relearn how to walk properly. There's a lot of cognitive damage. You know, I'll probably end up out of the Army with 32 surgeries due to combat-related injuries, but it's just part of the job, really. I'm an active duty sergeant major in the United States Army.
You get these guys, like this is the selection crew coming in. They've got their white tape on their uniforms, but they don't have any roster numbers yet. Not yet. They will. So that's your incoming special forces or special operations selection classes, and then there's an outgoing class over there. So they're coming in hoping to make it through 3 weeks of hell.
I currently serve as the Deputy Commandant for the Special Operations Non-Commissioned Officer Academy at Fort Bragg, responsible for the higher education of all Army Special Operations forces. Prior to that, I served in 3rd Special Forces Group for about 16 years on operational teams.
I went through in 2001, 2002 for Green Berets. I think we're popping out like 450 students a year. Our job is dirty deeds done dirt cheap. We're volunteering to go down range, work with indigenous forces for a long period of time, trying to accomplish impossible things that they give us to do with not enough resources 99% of the time. We're coming up on the famous smoke pit. You spend a lot of time out here in this pit. In the past, the goal was you just wanted to ensure that the people that you selected could go through hard events and not quit.
2012, I got cleared for duty, and then we went to Afghanistan, working with the 6th Special Operations Kandak. The Special Operations Kandak is a battalion-sized element between 600 and 900 people. The Kandaks were kind of based off a Ranger Regiment model that could go out and strike at very specific targets. Or if the Taliban was getting very strong in a location, you could send these Special Operations Kandaks in. Some of them were just truly wanting to fight for their country, but most of them were just trying to survive. They're like, hey, this is a good paycheck, it's got benefits, you know, they're trying to make a living. Most of them would go and do things that you wouldn't believe. I mean, I bled and had more Afghans that give their life for me than Americans. The Afghan commando Kandaks ended up holding Afghanistan together really until the end.
After over 2 hours of heavy fighting, all ammunition spent, Afghan commandos walk out with hands in the air. Seconds later, more than a dozen members of the elite special forces have been executed.
So we deployed in 2013, and it came down from higher. They said we were going to do a company-level mission in this place called Tagab Valley. Tagab Valley, oddly enough, is very close to the capital. It's a major route for the enemy to go up north into the rest of the country. They wanted to come in and use our 2 detachments and 6 Special Operations Kandak specifically to go in and clear this valley out so that the Americans could come in with some other Army forces and establish some control in the area because it was just out of hand. We knew there was at least 300 enemy fighters, up to 800 maybe, which a lot of times in Afghanistan, you know, it's kind of inflated. So sometimes you're like, oh, there's not really that many fighters. We were going to land in an area to the northwest of where we were trying to go, and we work our way down. We'd clear up to a point, and we're going to set up 3 battle positions And we're going to draw the enemy out and eliminate as many of them as we could, while also going back and clearing a couple compounds of interest that we knew some high-level Taliban commanders resided.
Hey, Chuck! Once you get set, we're moving!
The way we set up our team is we moved out in 3 elements. We had an Assault Force 1, Assault Force 2, which was my assault force, and we were always the supporting effort. And then we had the C2 section with the captain and the senior combo guys.
Hey, we are taking fire from the
As a special forces soldier, for me, I'd have maybe one other American that wasn't a Green Beret and 12 to 24 Afghans. We come in and we land with 3 CH-47 Chinooks. We land, we get off, and right when the helicopters took off, they started taking fire from the mountains from machine guns right away. And immediately, the stuff around the HLZ is not what I'm expecting. There's buildings there that weren't on the imagery that we were using. And we started moving, and we're in these poppy fields. The poppy fields I think they're just designed to be anti-American, because if you're about 6 foot tall, these things are just cracking you in the nuts over and over again. And then if you're too close to the guy in front of you, when he moves that thing forward, you get whacked with this big ass poppy. So they're a pain in the ass to move through. And in Afghanistan, there's just all these mud walls everywhere. There is no better way to get through this than the way you're going, unless you go down the main road, which we didn't want to get on because we knew it was IED and we knew that the enemy had people over there. So it took 2 hours longer than we expected to get to our first target building. So we cleared to where we thought that we were going to set up our battle positions, and the buildings that we'd planned for were not defensible. We went from poppy fields and orchards to now just being the most urban maze I'd ever been in. And I'd been in a lot of urban combat at this point in time, in Iraq and places all around Afghanistan, but this place was just corridored everywhere. And we finally decided that we were going to, instead of 3s, we're going to set up 2 battle positions. The C2 element would be located with my element. We'd wait for the sun to come up. We'd see what was going on with sensors, and we'd go back and clear. And we had about 30 minutes before the sun came up. I was like, all right, man, I'm going down for a quick 30-minute nap. I was down for about 10 minutes. Next thing I know, there's 3 people on top of me. What the hell is going on?
They're in the courtyard.
I got woke up. Grenades were going off. One grenade landed in the courtyard. It didn't go off. If it would have gone off, it would have probably wounded most of us. I was like, okay, this is crazy. First of all, they're attacking us before the sun is fully up, so that's not normal. Generally, the firefight should start about an hour after sunrise, after prayer. Second of all, they're right on top of us. If they're throwing grenades over the walls, how are they getting so close to us? But the reality was this place was so mazed up that they could just get on top of us, and there's not a whole lot we could do about it.
Hey, we are taking accurate fire.
The captain, the commander, was actually on top of the building, and he was just getting his ass handed to him with RPGs. And he said that first volley that came in, that basically knocked him out. And he was like, what the hell is going on? And then he got up and recovered from it. Massive firefight erupted from both battle positions. I was like, hey man, sir, this is what needs to happen. Let the main effort stay in place. I'm gonna push up this team because we're the one taking fire right now. I took an element and we went out on this alleyway right outside the door so we could push these guys at least away from our position. We ended up capturing one guy that had been throwing grenades over the wall, and we pushed everybody else back. The enemy did have the amount of fighters that was briefed to us, and they were able to mass and fix us and pin us. As we were out, we had sensors seeing guys moving around. We're hitting those guys with hellfires. And then we moved back. Those guys were just there to fight, which I hadn't seen since Iraq in 2005. They meant business. They basically allowed us to move past a large number of their force so they could come up and envelop us from both sides. We got some information that there was a large enemy force to the south maneuvering. I was like, okay, let me push out. I'll get around the backside of these guys, and as they move up towards our buildings, we'll ambush them. You know, look at the imagery, it made sense. Like, this is where they are. This is how we get around them. As soon as they were moving in, they were set up with multiple machine guns and multiple people in these woods, and they shot at the first Afghans that came around the corner and shot one of them.
2296.
Someone got shot.
55515. We have 1 commando wounded.
And that guy dropped.
Hey, let's go. We're going back. Go get him.
Most of the Afghans ran away. I was right behind the wall from this guy, and it was just a heavy amount of gunfire. I can see the guy's wounded do this crack. I'm like, okay, let's get the Afghans back. And let's get these Apaches firing on the outskirts of this open area.
Chuck, 30 Mike inbound.
And the Apaches, they were doing runs, but they weren't firing. Turns out Apache 1, his gun was bent, which means it's broken. Apache 2, nope, same thing. Didn't fire.
Alpha, this is Delta, where's that fire?
Finally, we got enough Afghans back, made a decision that we have to get this guy. We're going out there. There's multiple machine guns. It's probably not going to be pretty. You know, most of us are probably going to die. It's just what it is. But we got to at least drag this dude around the corner and not let the Taliban get him. So once you go, it's just like going into a building. Once you go run that threshold, you've got two options, right? You can kill everything that needs to be killed, or you're going to die trying. But you can't stop in the threshold. That's not an option.
Delta, they are moving towards the wounded patient at this time.
As we came around the corner, the Afghan platoon leader, me, and a couple other guys, was immediately a pretty massive 25-meter gunfight. There was two guys that were bounding, like textbook bounding, as you would see in military doctrine, about 15 meters away. Ended up shooting those two guys. There was a machine gun at each apex of this open area. We ended up eliminating the one machine gun. And then when you watch the helmet cam video, you can hear some grenades going off. I think I went through 3 mags out there. At this point, we're just out in the open too. There's no cover, so it was terrifying, right?
Is Chuck good?
At that one point, I was like, all right, we eliminated all the threats. I felt pretty good about myself. This dude, he's not that injured. He's got his fingers blown off, and he's got a through and through to the leg. But he's just laying there. He was scared. Later he said he thought he was dead. Dragging this dude, and all of a sudden the machine gun opens up from where I thought we killed him onto the platoon leader. So I transitioned over to where I'm pretty sure this PKM gunner is. I can't see him. I start unloading on where I think he's at. But I'm off. I think I was shooting too far to the left. He transitions to me, strikes me on the right leg. I was on a knee. And knocked that knee back. It felt like a sledgehammer. So I move forward. My whole body's like in a Superman position. The next round comes in and hits my upper back right here on the shoulder blade. Goes to the brachial nerve complex and the brachial artery and lodges in my lower back. And then a third round like nicked my butt.
Alpha, we are taking effective fire.
I was pissed. What was going through my head was like, I'm gonna kill this dude. I know where he's at. A PKM only has a 100 round belt, so he had to reload. So I was like, all right, I know where this dude is. I'm killing this dude. I got up and I tried to engage, but I could physically not get my gun up to engage. At this point in time, I didn't feel a whole lot of pain.
Is Chuck good?
It felt like I got hit with a sledgehammer in the leg, and it definitely felt like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer in the back. I was like, okay, this isn't good. Let's get this dude out of here.
Zulu, you good? I'm hit. Hey, Zulu's hit.
I came around the corner, and then that's when the pain set in, and that wound redefined my definition of pain.
Where at, Chuck? Where at? Come back. Zulu's hit.
This is to Gob, right?
Yeah, it's just a gap. Ooh, you hear the A-10 come in?
Yeah.
And then obviously with the A-10s, you hear the impact of the rounds first, and then you hear the gun firing afterwards.
Yeah. Dude, A-10s is such an awesome sound.
Hey, over down there. Roll over.
So when you hit the ground, like, what was your first thought?
By the time I got in there, like, you can see the look on my face, like that was pure pain, and I've never felt pain like that before in my life. So I was like, man, give me some morphine right now, right? Because we all carry 5 milligrams of morphine in our little medical kit.
Yeah.
And generally I could get to it, but obviously taking my gun belt off. But we'd practice. That's why I was able to get my stuff off so quickly, because we'd practice this over and over and over again.
Chuck, morphine's in. Roll over. I need your front.
Dude, your medic is on it.
Not too bad, Chuck. Not too bad. Does it come out the front? I don't think so. How's your breathing?
Breathing wasn't good.
Hey man, I didn't know you ever had your ass handed to you.
Where at, Chuck? Where at? Hey, I need people in my position right now. Zulu is down. He is urgent.
But your medic was on it, right? The team covered all of the loose ends, if you will. It's just cool to kind of see everybody come together and support you in this situation.
It's pretty calm too, in my opinion, for what's going on.
It is surprising. Like, I've definitely seen worse. Everybody knew what they were doing. They knew how to handle the situation. Oh, it was very professionally handled.
Just that happened at the perfect moment to where everybody was refueling. All we had over was Apaches. Thinking back, maybe we should have just been a little bit more patient, but then we would have missed out on getting behind them. But of course, they were just waiting for us.
You can't know everything. You're constantly making decisions with what you know at the time, man.
I remember coming around the corner and just being terrified, right? People tell you they're not scared in combat. It's not that you're not scared, but it's just what do you do to that fear and don't let it lock you up.
We are moving back to your position.
They dictated that battle. We didn't control the tempo at that point. The only other field for HLZ that we planned was to the northeast. That was definitely contested by the enemies. I self-recover, move myself back.
Let's go.
The video cuts out though when we go to our casualty collection point, which our pararescue guy was waiting there. They packed the wound as much as they could, and they put me in a skedco, which is a stretcher. It looks like a little taco. So then they had to figure out how they were going to get me out of there. So they came up with a plan that they were going to push out elements from the main effort to clear up to this building overwatching this field, and then they were going to come around and bring me through up to this building. But they became a rolling firefight all the way up to this building. It was just me, the team leader, and the medic out in the open for the most part in this alleyway. And I said, hey, our guys are tracking that. They know that you're there by yourself. They're staying over the radar. They're going to kill you guys. They're going to snatch up this wounded guy. Shit, we got to keep going. They would just fight their way up to the streets. It took probably 30 minutes to get up to this alleyway where they were just left by themselves, and then they had aircraft overhead shooting containment fires. They finally made it into the final compound before they extracted me, and the enemy just enveloped on this and around the far side of the HLZ. It was like a scene out of the movie. I'm laying there in this taco, and you just hear this massive gunfight, and somebody'd come down and they'd like, hey man, how you doing? Need some water? Give me some water. And they'd reconsolidate ammo there. They were starting to run low on ammo. And they'd like, all right, man, good luck, Chuck. And they go back up to their fighting position. I'm like, shit, like what is going on? I mean, they didn't think I was going to survive either, to be honest with you. There was a point in time where the captain came and he's trying to be quiet. He's like, hey, Dan's our medic. Is Chuck going to make it? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to make it or not. It sucked just being helpless. Just basically laying there staring at the ceiling, watching everybody else do all this work. And it's just a really bad feeling. Finally, they managed to clear enough of an area to where they thought they could land the helicopters. They rigged me for hoist. They said, hey, we're going to bring in a CH-53, what's called a Pedro bird. They're heavily armored, they have miniguns on them, and we're going to hoist you out. And I just remember hearing that, and I freaked out. I was like, hell no. I grabbed up, and I grabbed the team leader, reached up and grabbed him. I said, hey, man, I'm not going to die in the end of some freaking rope, man. Like, you're not going to hoist me out. He's like, Chuck, this is the only way we can get you out of here. We got to hoist you. Luckily, as the Pedro aircraft came in, he took a lot of fire and got shot up, so he had to leave, so that didn't happen. So I'm pretty sure if they would have tried to hoist me up, none of us would have survived that. And they got me to this building, and then they cleared enough area with AC-130, and managed to get the helicopters in there and get me out. The terrain favors the people that live there. We found that out very clearly once we got there, and they used it to their advantage. They ended up fighting all day long, probably until like 4 o'clock. They ended up leaving without any extra casualties, but by the time they ended the day, they were out of ammo. They had no water. That battle we didn't win, right? Like, at least for me, I was a little bit too cocky going to that mission as far as I got all this imagery, I've got all this information, intelligence. We know what the enemy's going to do. But the reality is the terrain surprised us. The enemy surprised us. Even though we had all the information and intelligence in the world, we were able to be enveloped by an enemy force. They told me it'd take me years to get used to my arm back and relearn how to do anything with it. So from the last surgery to redeployment was less than 3 months. I was told that it was going to be impossible to recover that fast. Second of all, they weren't going to let me go back because, it was my second time in combat where I was seriously wounded. So I was relearning how to use my arm. I was able to recover and function properly and redeploy to combat when everybody said it was impossible. The next deployment, get shot again with another machine gun through the hand, where that one came over the finger here, went through the middle knuckle and blew out the side and blew out all the bones. And then recovered from that one and came back, right? So what drives us to do stuff like that? Are we trying to prove something to ourselves? If you truly believe that you're an unstoppable force of nature in life, then you will be, right? I just want to prove that to people.
Welcome back to the Pineland Underground podcast. the official podcast of the United States Army Special Warfare Center and School, and the best podcast the military has to offer.
You know, even though I've had 30 surgeries due to the job itself, man, it's definitely been worth it. I'd do it all over again.